cost to replace a boiler, approximate?
An approximate cost for a boiler is going to be 100 million,
100 million?
a million US.
Million,
A million,
200 million,
200 million.
200 something more. Now we just came from Blaymont and we look at the boiler there that the manager explained that every day within 24 hours they have to manually clean it.
Yeah.
The same thing here too?
Yeah, you have to manually clean this too.
On a 24-hour basis? Like
No, on a shift basis.
Any 24 every 24 hours you have to clean it?
Every 24 you rotate the cleaning. You clean number 1, then you clean the number 2, then you clean number 3. Every shift have a rotations which boiler they clean. So on a rotation basis, all boilers get cleaned. We have to do that because they are not self-cleaning boilers. They're not equipped with moving grate. So
besides those two challenges that you have, the knife and the boiler, what are the other major things you have to do?
the building, the roof, if you look, you see it's very bad state. Platform work, we have a chimney to replace, we have the molasses tank to replace, and we have quite a lot of factory pumps, which are,
And this area here had a dump system too?
no, we have cane gang
Height.
chimneys. But the dump system is planned later down as another development when the factory start.
So you'll start with the height?
We'll start with the height.
Okay. In terms of your machinery, and so you start rehab any, or you just waiting on those capital?
No, we are in the process of doing some concrete work. We are using some contractor machines.
Private contractors?
Yes, and a few estate machines. They're not up to scratch, but we're trying with them. As a matter of fact, we're hoping by the next weekend we should be completing over 50 hectares of land that was there lying with vegetation and canes.
And those canes will be used as seed for the next crop?
That land will be put underwater, planted next crop to seed the second crop.
Okay. So by 2022, the first crop, we should
First
have
crop.
sugar here.
Yes, certainly.
But you can get before that too.
You can get it
By the end of 2021, the second crop.
if the factory gets good. It'll be difficult
Minister,
to get.
that will be difficult. We will not be achieving that. The lead time alone for get this job done is running into a year, a month.
But besides that, what I'm saying, besides the factory, you'll have to prepare and get enough canes for the factory.
That's right.
But there will be a number of workers who will be re-engaged
Yes.
to do work in the cultivation
Yes,
during the time you're
yeah.
setting up the factory.
As a matter of fact, by the end of next year, all employees except harvesters will be fully engaged in the cultivation. Because we'll be doing replanting, we'll be doing fertilizing, chemical weed control, hand weeding, every single thing that you have to do in the field will be done by the second half of next year.
So those workers in the factories that were working before, those are the people you're targeting to re-engage?
As the first priority, we actually get a small crew already, start the cleanup, and from mid next week going on, we'll start bringing some engineering type to do testing of vessels, identifying what major work internally we have to do. So by the end of the year, when we forecast to have materials on site, we can get their full work, a good enough work crew with materials and jobs for them to start with.
So these workers working on a 24-hour system or a 12-hour or 8 hours?
8 hours.
8-hour shift.
Yes.
So you don't work in the night here, yet?
We are a bit unsafe.
Okay, so you have to set it up in properly to prepare it. We have approved funding,
Yeah.
the $3 billion that was set aside initially to start work in these factories and those factories that are operational presently. We have approved the fund. The CEO know, they had a meeting with me. You will get that funds that you asked for so that you can start critical works.
Yeah.
Back the raccoon of this.
Yes, that's
We're
right.
using
So
back the
this here
raccoon.
now, the raccoon will be treated by husbandry practices to combat the seed cane material, which I explained.
Yeah, okay. So how many acres of those we have?
138.2. We're in the
So
process
we will
of
have
having-
enough planting material
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
for Skeldon, or we can
Yeah,
take
Skeldon
it
is
to
much better.
other areas too.
Skeldon is a much better shape than Enmore. Enmore is the one that had the least planting material.
Okay.
But one of the plan was to, if the farmers decide to come on board, we can give them close to about 1,200 hectares equivalent planting material.
So what we'll do, we'll come back and reach to the farmers. So now, when this factory closed, what was the TCTS here?
It fluctuated. The year before, it hovers between 12 to 15. And then there were times before that it ran up as much as 21 and in the 20s.
But what was the lowest ever?
The lowest setting was 11.39.
But when we left government in 2015, and I believe the second crop of 2015, the TCS was about 9 here. When the
Was it
farmer
before?
government was saying that they turn around the industry, but the work that we did prior to we coming out of government caused the industry to produce those
Actually,
TCTS.
we had 39 plus thousand tons of sugar.
Right, right.
So many people don't know that the factory indeed produced sugar. Yes, not to its potential,
So we
but
were on the verge of turning around this factory,
Yes.
and then the mismanagement stepped in and closed it.
yes.
Right?
That's right, Vijay?
Yeah.
What was the lowest ever we went here? Through TCTS, you can remember?
It's a 10.
Ten.
Yeah, it's 10.
I knew around that 9, 10.
We had some consistent 11 plus.
Okay.
Once you have consistency in the grinding, you have good recoveries in the factory. But when you have the stop and start operation, it's when it be most effective.
The diffuser was a combination of problems. But after all analytical work and assessment and evaluation, it appears that one factor was the inconsistency of cane supply. That was a big one because diffuser by its nature would want a constant supply of canes. Two, the diffuser was geared to take off 350 tons cane per hour, but it never really achieved that. So that could have been another issue with efficiency levels. And then the third one, when you could not have supplied canes that resulted from bad weather, some extraneous matters entered into the diffuser. That was another problem. But before those things could have been corrected, including the front end, the dumpers, there was closure. Work was done, work was ongoing, but it's a brand new factory. And of course, the gestation period in some parts of the world, like in Komati Mill in South Africa, it's about 4 years. One would have thought that you can really have to 4 or 5 years to really maybe get things up closer to its potential. That was short-lived.
So what system we will be using now when we get back on stream? The same diffuser system?
Well, the diffuser is one, and then we are thinking to an additional system, and that is to perhaps put some rollers.
Mills.
So that one is a problem, the other suffers.
So we got a dual system here coming to be.
Yes.
And those were budgeted for.
Well,
Yes.
but that's going to come in next year's budget. Yeah.
So we'll start out, hopefully that we'll start out with the dual system when this factory starts
the
back.
dual system will
Yeah.
be much more reliable.
The dual system, Minister, is to improve the reliability, is not to operate both at the same time.
But this one, we will have to make a decision finally as to what we will settle for.
No, the pond dumper system will always be more reliable, but
Yes.
then we've done the highs. So I think that you all have to work towards that back.
Yeah,
get
the,
back the
the, the
system.
pond dumper system will remain, but what we need, what Mr. Pan is referring to as one of the pond dumper, the outboard one, has been remodeled and redesigned.
Was about
Total number of employees.
1847 was the grand total.
So out of that, we employ about 100 already, re-employed.
Yes, and we have about 450 also already registered. The field
So how many
commenced work.
persons you'll need now to restart replanting and things like that? Crop husbandry and other
With those that we have enrolled, I'm looking at another 112 persons.
By when? Before the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay. You know for a fact over the years, a number of critical works were neglected in those factories that are running presently. And because of that, they are only running between 40 to 60% capacity. However, the money that were budgeted in our budget, the $3 billion firstly, and then the two, we have already started to disburse funds to Gaisuku based on the requests that they have had for these estates. Firstly, those estates that are grinding, Iflot, Albion, and Blairmont, and also those estates that we are planning to reopen. As I am speaking here today, those funds have already been disbursed, and as a result of that, we are seeing works commence rapidly in those estates that are we plan to reopen. And Gaisuku have started to hire workers at Rose Hall. They have hired over 125 workers already. At Skeldon here, I have just been informed by Mr. Vishnu Pandey that he have employed more than 100 workers. And by the end of this year, he will employ another between 200 to 300 workers. That is to prepare the cultivation. I'll be having a meeting shortly with the cane farmers, because you know the cane farmers contributed 32% of canes to the factory here, and Gaisuku is responsible to supply 68% of those canes. So I'll be meeting back once again with the cane farmers to help pursue them to start back cultivations. You know for a fact that the last time they have started, we were able to facilitate them with the financial institution loans, but when the factory was closed, the previous government left them on their own, and they are now very suspicious of replanting or going back to the cultivation. I'm hoping that I can able to get their interest back again, so that I can start cultivation, and at the same time we can able to facilitate the lending institution to facilitate them to have those soft loans once again, so that we can have operation commence shortly here. In the Gaisuku end, they have started the cultivation. They are getting rid of those canes that were left abandoned in the field. They are now taking out those canes, and the ratoons there will be preserved to start back new crops. As I am speaking, they have workers in the field doing that. At Rose Hall, similar exercises are being done, but there are a number of fields that were abandoned at Rose Hall. Now they have started tillage there, and very shortly they will start planting of canes. I am hoping that we can have help from India in terms of both personnel, technical personnel. I have already written to the High Commission of India, and they are looking at technical expertise to come and help us here at the factory level. And also I will be requesting them to have technical experts coming here to help us in our cultivation. So both sides will be looking at technical experts from India to come and help us. He's very inclined in doing it, but we have to wait and see the result for those requests that we have made. Also, we are looking at a public-private partnership. We have already published in the newspaper expression of interest for these estates. Hopefully, we can have the private sector coming on board. And I was very heartened this week that I had meeting with the private sector commission and also the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, and they have expressed interest of investing in Gaisuku. So I am very optimistic that we can have the public-private partnership in Gaisuku. Not only the government alone will have to ensure that these factories keep running and keep the labor, and also ensure that we keep sugar alive, but the private sector, they are showing very, very keen interest of investing in Gaisuku locally, and hopefully we can have international partners come on stream too, so that they can invest in the industry. I am looking forward when the expression of interest is closed, we can have a number of companies express interest of investing in Gaisuku. So as I am speaking here right now, I'm extremely happy that the commitments that we have made in our manifesto is now being realized slowly here, but very shortly we'll intensify it, and we'll have these operations coming on stream shortly. As all of us would have heard this morning, both from Mr. Dukia at Rosal and Mr. Pandey here, that sugar sugar can be produced here, produced at Rosal by the end of 2021. And here at Skelden, they are looking at the first crop of 2022, if everything being equal. So I am very, very optimistic. I am very, very happy that these commitments and promises that were made by us when we were in opposition are coming to fruition now here at Skelden and at Rosal. Very shortly, I will be visiting Enmore. I will invite the press and I will give you an update at Enmore. But as I am speaking, works are going on at Enmore Estate too. And that estate, we have started the packaging plant, has started operation once again. So that is an exercise that has commenced immediately there, together with Blaymont and more. We can have packaged sugar being added to Gaisuko and bring more value to the production of Gaisuko. That is the eventual aim of Gaisuko, value-added product and diversification of the industry. At Rosal, the entire Rosal was dead. People had to migrate and move out of Rosal Estate because they couldn't find a job. They couldn't find a job. A number of people, fathers or mothers, had to take out their children from school. So if you look at the social aspect, the fallout was heavy in terms of education, health, recreational facility, services that were provided by Gaisuko. So it was tremendous. That is why I'm saying, I don't want to quote, but very shortly you'll see a report come out from the ILO, and you'll see those things that I am saying here now will come out from those reports. So it was tremendous, and it was, I think it was, the foresight was not there in the previous government, or they wanted to punish sugar workers because they felt that sugar workers were supporting the PDP Civic, and that's the reason that they want to close down sugar. And let me tell you something, if they would have gone back or go back in government this time around, sugar would be history for our country. That is why I'm very happy and extremely happy that people will once again be reemployed and the village economy will once again come alive. Any factories will have to take some time to settle down. And when we left government in 2015, the factory would have been at the point of turning around. So much so that the last crop of 2015, when they produced the target that they have set themselves, the coalition government at that time said that they have turned around the industry. But it was the work that the PEP Civic did over time was responsible for that turnaround for that crop. But eventually, the whole estate was left abandoned because of bad management and bad policy by the coalition government. That is one of the reasons that caused this factory to go down. If you look at this factory, it's a beautiful factory. We could have maintained it. And the system that we have here is a modern system, a diffuser system, where this system is used in places like South Africa, where they produce millions of tons of sugar. And we could have that same system here. But because of the policy, and they haven't put the effort and the resources in sugar, they have eventually closed the sugar industry. We know for a fact that the COI that was set up by the coalition government said that no factory should have been closed, that they should fund the factory with the aim of divesting it. And that we are doing. We are now funding it. We are now funding the sugar industry to restart it. And at the same time, we are looking at the expression of interest from the private sector so that we can form that partnership to bring back Gaisuko alive again. We know for a fact that Gaisuko is responsible, or Gaisuko is the single largest employer of person in Guyana. Gaisuko normally bring in the largest foreign exchange, or the largest foreign exchange earner for our country. Those were the benefit that Gaisuko gave us. And when we closed Gaisuko, we closed down an industry that was employing the largest set of Guyanese. We closed an industry that normally has given us DNI services in the communities. We closed a service that has given us health services in a community. So the social and the all-round effect of Gaisuko was there, not only for profitability, but when you look at the DNI, you look at the health services, you look at the sporting facilities, and things like that, and you look at the village economy as a whole, Gaisuko was playing its role. So that is why we were asking the government to do a social economic study of what Guyanese would entail after the closure of Gaisuko. They never did, and we have seen the social ills that were caused by the closure of Gaisuko. That is why, as a government, we are interested in reopening Gaisuko, re-employ people, also bring back those social benefits, and at the same time break even and then we'll look at profitability in the future.